Lived in Richmond, you voted for Richmond, you played with Richmond, and that's all you thought about. And they had boundaries there too. So you never went over into Collingwood. That was the one down that end, Punt Road. You never just went to the ground there. And then you had the river at the other end, so you were hemmed in all the time.
Away from Tigerland, a fighting fury never Tigerland. In any weather you will see us with a grin. Skin. If we're behind, then never mind. We'll fight and win, for we're from Tigerland.
And Jill, it doesn't look a very happy man.
The siren's gone. Like the tiger home. We're strong and we're bold, for we're from Tiger. Yellow and black, we're from Tigerland.
Nick, where are we tonight?
Craig, we're at the Richmond Town Hall, heart of the Tigers.
Heart of the Tigers, what a grand building. It is freezing out here. Come on, we've got to go inside.
It is freezing, we've got to go inside, but first, quick, show me what the Richmond people do.
No,
let's go inside for the real thing.
Come and see the real thing, come and see the real thing, come and see. Come and see the real thing, come and see the real thing, come and see. There's a meaning there, but the meaning there doesn't really mean a thing. Come and see the real thing, come and see the real thing, come and see. I am the real thing. Oh, mow, 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 mow. Mow, 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 mow. Trying hard to understand, but really not, you'll see in me. Trying hard to understand, but really not, you'll see in me. There's a meaning there, but the meaning there doesn't really mean a thing. Come and see the real thing, come and see the real thing, come and see. I am the real thing. Oh, mow, 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 mow. Trying hard to understand, but really not, you'll see in me. There's a meaning there, but the meaning there doesn't really mean a thing. Come and see the real thing, come and see the real thing, come and see. I am the real thing. Mow, 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 mow.
what a note. Fantastic. Thank you,
Morris.
Russell Morris and the Sharons. Put your hands together
Yeah,
once again.
well done.
Nick, we're back.
We're back.
State of Origin weekend. We had the weekend off, and now we... Hold on.
I picked the winner.
Poor old Adelaide. The Crows. Not the Crows, sorry. South Australia. Who cares? Yeah, good point. A lot of people said that. We might discuss that with some of our guests later on. But welcome. We're coming live to you from the Richmond Town Hall. Here it's not really sunny. It's a very, very cold evening in Melbourne. And we're right on Bridge Road, and it's in the heart of Richmond. And have a look at them all. We have to thank these people because these are the Optus Vision, the people out there who watch the show, and I hope you've enjoyed it, and also the coverage at Sports AFL and also Optus Vision have given you on the channel, and thanks for coming along tonight, all the Richmond supporters. Well done. Now, I've got to thank the police. I've got to thank the police because they've moved all their cars so we can get our vans in. So thank you, police. And if I get picked up for speeding, just let me off.
No, well, do I have to thank the Richmond City Council for giving me a parking ticket this afternoon?
Well, they're
$100 bucks.
We're just around the corner. We're in the town hall, so we might go down and tap on the door. So give Nick the $100 bucks.
$100 bucks. It was a clearway.
Sucked in. That's
now
great.
listen, we haven't. Thanks a lot. I'm going to get them to boo you. Now we haven't got the latest tonight, but we've got the greatest.
We certainly have. We've got some fantastic, excellent legends of the game of the Richmond Footy Club. And I want you to put your hands together for two great legends. One of them coached from, get this right, for Tommy Hafey, 1966, 69, 73 and 74. Tommy Hafey. Welcome, Tommy Hafey. And also Francis Bourke, who... We've got another guest. Gee, the angry Tigers tonight. They're angry, ferocious Tigers.
We've got someone else.
We've got the other legend, Francis Bourke. Welcome, Francis Bourke. Gee, the boys are fired up. Isn't it great, Tommy?
Everybody's fired up down in Richmond, mate.
And now the town hall, mate, this would have brought back some memories.
Oh, did it ever? Yes.
Kissing in the corner down there with Maureen.
Oh, I don't know about that. We had little Dixie around, though, back in those days. Milk bar in Richmond, yes. Oh, it brings back great memories. I don't see any faces out there who used to come up to my milk bar 40 years ago, though, to be quite honest. Opposite the Nash it was, the Greek Theatre, where you're living, where your business is now.
Yeah. Now just tell us...
It wasn't yesterday.
It wasn't yesterday, but tell us the story. You actually had two of your daughters...
Two of my girls were born there, yes. Yeah.
Do you feel like you're really, I guess, a father figure for a lot of the youth of Richmond?
Well, I don't know about that, but I always felt like I was part of a cheer squad, even when I was a player. I just felt that because of the fact that I was a Richmond person, playing for the Tigers and had a milk bar in Richmond, which was probably a big thing in those days, folks. A lot of players did have milk bars, probably because of the personality.
Now they've got pubs.
They've got pubs now, yeah.
I reckon the coaches would like the milk bars.
Yeah, I would
Francis,
think so.
You would have preferred the few of the players to have less pubs and more milk bars, wouldn't you? Especially Wale Robertson and a few of those boys.
Oh, I don't think there's any holding the whale. I think he was the law unto himself. And, but anyway, they were... good that those blokes went on and did something for themselves and made most of what they had.
They certainly did, and we've got some fantastic guests coming on tonight, some of the guys that you coached, both of you coached. And, but tell us the team at the moment. Your young son David is playing, and later on we've got some highlights. He's
in your old number?
Wearing your old number. That must be, he must be very proud of the young fella.
Oh, I think it would be every father's dream to have their son play for the team that they played for, and I don't think I'm any exception there. And it's, I guess that it's funny, I worry more about David's safety and his well-being much more than what I ever did about my own.
Well, here's some highlights too, because he's hurt his shoulder a couple of times over the last few weeks at the start of the season, certainly doing some very courageous things. But you get to most games? And watch
Yeah, I go most times, Craig. I usually listen on the wireless till quarter time to see how the Tigers are going, and if they're going pretty well, then I might go. But I like to watch David play, and in fact, it's one of the great parts of my life watching him play as a kid, you know, and so this is just an extension of it.
That's where he hurt his shoulder, and when he came back and he had the shoulder heavily strapped, and he did it again, slightly strained it again, but some desperate things there, and it's fantastic to see. Obviously, the Richmond Footy Club need that at the moment, Tommy. They've sort of got to turn things around a little bit, don't they?
They certainly do, yes. Now, he's lightly built, very lightly built, which is different to the way Francis was, and he's quite a bit taller than Francis. But he's such a lightly built person, he will find himself, unless he builds up, that he will probably get a few injuries, which we hope he don't, but that's the way it's gone so far. Yeah, but tough as goat's knees.
Now, how would you describe Francis when he was playing? A tough guy? Probably the toughest in the league?
Pretty tough to say in front of him, of course. But probably everybody's aware of my opinion of Francis. I think he was probably the most committed and most disciplined player that I've ever been probably connected with, and just a superstar.
Well, here's some footage of that era, and Francis, I mean, you're a fanatic about training and preparation and everything else, and there's a story, and I'm not sure if I got it quite right, but when you were actually coaching and you came down and you fickle for getting people to being there on time, and apparently you were a bit late yourself one morning, was that right? And you forced yourself to do the punishment, which is pretty... I wouldn't know Lee Matthews, or actually we've got to ask Balme, he's coming on later on, if he'd do the punishment. I don't know if he'd get around the 400, around the 10.
I can tell you now in Balme's case. No.
But obviously, you know, you're very disciplined, and in regard to the situation of the Tigers at the moment, do you see that's an area that perhaps they need to tighten up on, or you know, what do you think's needing at the moment?
Oh, I just think the players have got to play better and more consistently, Craig. I don't think that's being unfair. Because we've seen on different times against the West Coast Eagles, for example, and Collingwood, the Tigers have played just supersonic footy, and next week have come out and haven't played to that anywhere near that level. And I guess that if they struck a more even balance in terms of performance, they would do much better.
Now, I want to clarify something. When you broke your leg, 1971 round 7, did you play on, or did you run a length of the ground with a broken leg?
Well, it's one of those stories that actually has got better as the years have worn on.
Well, don't dilute it, or pump it up again.
Pump it up.
Actually, I broke it on the Thursday night before the game.
No, but what actually happened? I mean, did you go straight off, or...? It's a bit
yeah,
of a...
well, virtually I did. I tried. I tried to play on, but couldn't. And but in those days, of course, at Glenferrie Oval, which was only about 100 yards long. It wasn't such a long walk to go to the dressing room, but had it been at VFL Park, I would have been in all sorts of trouble, I dare say.
Now, Tommy, just over your career, I mean, 66 to 76, you basically, the 4 premierships, I mean, it's 67, 69, 73 and 74, and here's some of the highlights. Very special times, obviously, for yourself as a coach. I mean, that's the ultimate goal. Do you see clubs being able to do that again now, or do you see the competition that tight and hard to win back-to-back or premierships?
We felt it was hard back then.
Is that right?
If you're aware, there was not many back-to-back premierships for a really long time. We actually broke that, so it was always difficult. And I suppose you yourself, being connected with Premiership, Nicole, with her swimming, it's very difficult. The competition's out there, tough all the time. And when we did win 73, 74 in successive years, it was the first time that had been done for something like 20 years, I guess.
What was the feeling around the club during that era? It must have been pretty amazing.
It was. We were probably an elite group. We had sort of an arrogance about us, but we were young, even in 67. The players were young, folks, not the coach, not the coach. Yeah.
But you still look fit, mate.
Yeah. But the players were very young and they all came out together. We trained very hard and I thought we had a definite style of play, all those types of things, which was terrific. And it was probably the 67, and Francis will agree, where the Tigers hadn't won a premiership for 24 years, and then to break that, hadn't made the finals for 20 years. So you can imagine the feeling it was. And yet we must have had 4 or 5 teenagers in the team at that stage. Graham Bergen, Royce Hart were both only 18.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess we had quite a few, say the Bartletts and the Francis and Dickie Clay. They were around the 1920 mark, so there was a lot of inexperienced players. So it just all clicked, and then it just kept on rolling on from there.
We're talking about off-camera, off-set before in regard to the style of play, and you look at it here where it's basically get the ball which is the most important thing, kick it forward and then see what happens. But the style of game these days seems to be there's so many set plays. I mean, we often talk about it with our coverage and how coaches set up. Do you think they're tending to overcoach at the moment? I mean, I'm a bit critical of a couple of coaches at the moment because they just seem to be doing too much rather than to just tell the guys, go out there and do it.
Well, I believe that, but if you say it, you're supposed to be old-fashioned. I think these set plays, I guess you can do a set play properly from the full back line, but in most cases it's just spur-of-the-moment stuff. You've got your certain style, and I think that a lot of the coaches are trying to be very innovative, and really the most important thing in football, I think you folk out there will agree, is getting the ball, winning the ball, first in, and then, well, dispose of it pretty well, but I don't think just kicking the ball all around the field is not going to help you, particularly if you're on the forward line.
It's good for your stats.
It's good for your stats. Now, that's one of the biggest problems. I think you people would agree on that. The players pick up the stats and think, well, I've done pretty OK today. I've had 25 possessions.
25? I've never had 12, I don't reckon, so that wasn't a concern for me, Tommy.
But let's be realistic also. If you don't get 25, 30 possessions, if you're on the ball, you shouldn't be out there.
Francis, do you agree? Is it changed that much?
Enormously, and I mean what Tommy's saying is basically when the set play situation arises, it's by far the minority of times when the ball's actually in possession of one team or the other. A lot of it you've got to make, or most of it, you've got to make split-second decisions on what to do with the ball. You haven't got time to instigate a set play, so therefore your rules or your style of play or your set down and stipulated style of play comes into being, and that's where the efficiency of your game is really tested. Yeah. And I mean, to play the style of game that's being expected, his skills have got to be supersonically high and not subject even to human frailty. And basically, even the most skillful players make mistakes under pressure, particularly.
Now, Tommy, I want to have a look at this clip we've got of Ian Stewart, and he's talking about your great self, and then I'll come back and ask you a couple of questions in regard to Graham Richmond, who's one of the fantastic Richmond men. I mean, he was Richmond, and it's interesting what Ian Stewart was saying here about you not too long ago.
He was a player's man. He was always there to support you when things were going badly. Tommy had a lot of success. He needed some support on the bench. He had that support with Graham Richmond. They won 4 premierships together. Make no mistake about it, in my period at Richmond and before, Graham Richmond was Richmond Football Club. Tommy was the coach and we were the players, but Graham Richmond was the Richmond Football Club. When they had a falling out, Tommy left, went to Collingwood, then went to Geelong and went to the Swans. But had Tommy have had a great right hand, like a chairman of selectors that could help Tommy tactically, he would have been the greatest coach of all times.
Wow.
Now I know you're a modest sort of guy, but I mean, really, was he that important to you, Graham?
Well, I think that it was administration, not only Graham, because I think in Swabby's case, Alan Swab was another one who was terrific there. And if you're not strong in the head office, you're going to be in trouble. Doesn't matter where you are. I think you'd agree in your business, and you folk out there once again would agree. If you're not strong up there, and I think that we were pretty good in those areas, and very, very close. The entire group. There was very little got out of our committee room, out of our selection room. And I think that's for the start of, say, being a pretty successful team.
Now, I know you're still pretty much involved in football. I wanted to ask you what you think of the Diesel decision, the Greg Williams decision, because we were talking about it before. How do you think that's affected the state of football?
Well, I'm most disappointed. I thought that he was very well treated by the tribunal. And I know that's different to what a lot of people will say. And I know Greg personally, and it's got nothing to do in his case. But he manhandled the umpire, irrespective. And I thought that he would have got 12 weeks. When he got 9, I thought, well, he's a lucky boy. That was my opinion. And then when they took it further, I thought, well, that's an absolute disgrace. I just think that the umpire, referees are there and they've got to be protected at all time. And I just cannot, well, I can't cop it in any way, shape or form. And as I said, going further on, I think it's very disappointing.
Now, Francis, I just want to ask you just quickly, I mean, when you're... The beautiful Richmond support. It's like being at Collingwood. This is fantastic. Just just in regard to when Tony Jewell took over from coach, or you took over from Tony, sorry, how'd you go around and break the news? Because you're the man that had to go and knock on the door and say, look, you're not going to be coaching anymore, and basically...
Oh, no, I didn't do that. No, Tony had already got the message. I went round and saw Tony as a matter of courtesy and because he was a friend of mine. And, I mean, we'd been through battles together as players, and he was still a friend, and he was then, and I just thought it was the courteous thing to do. And so I went round and said, well, look, you know, I've been asked to put my hand up and I'm going to accept the job. And so it went on from there. And I mean, I think that when you play with people and when you're associated like we were all together, and Tommy was a part of that as coach, of course, we made lifelong friendships. And I'm happy to say that despite Tony being disappointed at the decision at the time, and he was very generous to me in his wishing me all the best, and I appreciate it because I was a bit sensitive to that. But and our friendship that was prevailing before that time has happily stayed on after that time, and it's been the fantastic thing about playing together through this era for me was, you know, the respect and the friendships that came out of it. And I mean, Tony Jewell's situation in that case was just, the storm was weathered because of that.
Well, it's fantastic because backstage, the group of guys that we've got out there, it's great to see everyone getting together again and reminiscing, and we really appreciate you for coming on, Francis, and taking the night out, and hope David, and also that, no, Tommy's staying with us, so we're going to stay right next to Nicole. Don't get too far away from it, Tommy.
Suits
Look after
me, mate.
Suits you. I'll tell Maureen. But Francis, thanks for coming on, ladies and gentlemen. Put your hands together. We'll be back in a minute after the short break.
Hi, I'm Bridget Duclos, this is Darren Casey, and of course you already know Ed and Derm.
And we are the Grill Team. You can hear us weekday afternoons in Melbourne on Triple M.
And now you can see Dermy on his own TV show on Sports AFL Channel 13.
What's that show called, Derm?
Oh, it's called Football Feedback, and it's on live every Monday night.
And for a TV star, he's got a great face for radio and a great head for footy.
You mean he's got a head like a footy?
If only his mouth was laced up.
Football Feedback, 7:30 Monday night on Sports AFL. Live league action on Sports Australia.
Puts the foot down. Beautiful stuff in the final seconds.
Live Saturday from 3, the Crushers are determined to avenge their first-round disaster against the Knights. Then live Sunday at 1:30, it's the clash of the Titans between Norths and Manly. ARL live in the Optus Cup, Saturday from 3, Sunday from 1:30 on Sports Australia.
Ovation. A festival for your senses. Dance, from the classics to the innovative, from the international modernists to Australia's leading artists. Open your eyes to performers, to style, in a unique new format. Music, dance and more. A classic experience exclusive to Optus Vision. From June 1, Ovation, the Australian Arts Channel.
It's the biggest event on the European motorsports calendar.
Bill's got away well. Villeneuve lights up the tyres.
The heat is on as the world's fastest drivers roar into France for the Formula One Grand Prix.
David L. leads.
Man and machine pushed to the limit. You'll see it all on Sports Australia.
Villeneuve is taking Michael Schumacher.
The French Formula One Grand Prix.
With his clenched fist raised in victory.
1:30 Monday afternoon. Replay 8 o'clock Tuesday night on Sports Australia.
Letting play up for the moment. A long kick by Stewart down towards Where it's Southby and Barnes, pushed away by Wade and Southby. And Southby well, there's one too high. From
Fantastic. Well, we're having a great night here. We're coming to you live from the Richmond Town Hall. It is the Richmond night. It's a great night having all these Tiger supporters there roaring. And we've got Tommy Hafey with us, our special guest. But now we've got two more special guests who featured a little bit on that footage. They are the thugs of Richmond.
Oh, you want to talk?
Well, no, Balme taught me everything, actually. He coached me at Norton, he taught me everything. I'd like to welcome Neil Balme and Mal Brown. Have a listen to that bloke.
It's still here.
Is he related to you, Mal? He must be related to you.
Cousin.
Cousin.
Tommy put him onto me in '74.
Now, these guys are the Biffo brothers. We're going to have a look at some footage of you, Neil Balme.
Oh, no.
Biffo brothers?
Well,
I've
you
got a
can't.
green coat.
Biffo
I
brothers.
thought I'd leave it out of you. Biffo brothers.
Well, Balme, you did teach me everything. How to play footy.
It didn't take me long.
Now we've got some little bit of footage here, and it's. I know you don't like bringing this up because it's.
Man, you
Let me guess what it is.
Which one it is? It's a good hit, though.
Oh!
Oh, that must have slipped it in. I actually had the ball then.
Now, can I ask you the question while we're watching this, because there's some beauties here. Tommy, were they told to go out and belt them? Tommy, I want to know, Tommy. Graham, someone said something. Someone must have got. Balme, tell me the truth.
It was win at all costs.
It was win at all costs.
It really was. After the year before, when we got beaten so comfortably, there was really a feeling we weren't going to get beaten again, and there's certainly never ever been any instructions to do anything unfair. But it was a long time ago. That was then. This is now.
Was that
Not anything to be particularly proud of, but it was certainly a certain.
No, I just wish I'd played in that era. I reckon I would have played nearly.
You would have done all right, mate.
I would have missed one game.
Now, was that the big motivating force in the '73 grand final? The fact that you guys were surprisingly beaten so bad in the '72 grand final.
I think we were really a very proud club in those days. We really did stick together, and there was a certain. We didn't feel at the time, but in retrospect, a certain arrogance, Tommy, really wasn't there, and we were really bitterly disappointed we were beaten that year before. And Carlton did play wonderful footy. But I think we all over the summer, we all sort of thought, well, that's never going to happen again. And that year it didn't. But
well, we were the favourites, and we should have belted them in '72, and they absolutely annihilated us, didn't they?
Neil did belt them in '72.
Yeah.
He means on the scoreboard.
He should have. He should have. Well, we should have done a lot better because we'd beaten them about 3 or 4 times during the year, and they came out and kicked 28 goals 9 in the grand final.
Again, in retrospect, they weren't involved. In our team, it would have been a wonderful game to watch, but it was lost on us on that day, and we were really very bitterly disappointed with it.
Now, Mal, tell me, if you had your choice or you had your time again, would you change anything? I mean, you came over and played enormous, what was it, 14
VFL games, 25 tribunal.
I mean...
Thank you.
Sorry.
Would you change it?
Well, you've got to remember, in those days, you couldn't get cleared. It wasn't like today, you couldn't get a clearance because you basically... were locked in, and you didn't until Adamson went to court and took on West Perth in an Adelaide club. You just couldn't get cleared.
We're talking about some footage in Perth, and this is a beautiful. You got a bit angry here. Started pushing. You're not happy with that, are you, mate?
Well.
I don't think there was anyone left to have a go at.
Do you remember what Trevor said then?
What did he say to you? It must have upset you.
Well, it's amazing when you look back as you get older. What really that was about was a young kid that was playing his first game called Colin Johnson, and Barry Gill pushed him headfirst into the fence.
Yeah.
And was then in our day. See, the one thing they don't understand today, in our day, you know, in the Bible it said an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. And it was a responsibility of the bigger players to look after the little players. And it was your... I recall one game in a state match that Billy Walker kept getting flattened by South Australia, Ken Eustace.
Yep.
And, you know, we just said, look, hit him again, and the nearest bloke to us will knock him out. And I did knock out Rick Schoff. And all the West Australian blokes the crowd got upset because the ball was up the other end. But that was, Billy Walker won the Simpson medal. He kicked 6 goals. And
I think it was a different era. Today you'd go to jail for doing that.
There were different values.
Actually, you nearly would. I mean, it's a fair comment, isn't it, Balme, how players had to... I mean, the style of game is so much more open and free-flowing. I mean, you talk about set plays and the likes. I mean, it has...
But even if you look back to even when Tommy played, I think it would have been far rougher, far nastier than it was even when we played, and that looks pretty nasty, but that was... it wasn't really that bad, whereas now, I mean, it's really changed so much over the period.
When Tommy played, they threw hand grenades. It was during the war.
Now, Mel, one grand final that you sat out due to suspension. Sorry, I'm not picking on you. It's the 1974 grand final. We're going to take a look at that.
Save Tommy, I think, picking me.
Again.
Had eyes in the back of his head, Robbie McGee.
Now, obviously, probably one of the regrets of your life.
Oh, there's two regrets in my life. One is at 23 years of age being made captain coach, and because they wouldn't clear you, and that was a very young age. And the other was, of course, the grand final in 1974, because Ian Stewart and I sat in the grandstand, and that's when I learnt what Ian taught me, a good thing. If you can get drunk by 10 o'clock in the morning, you've got the rest of the day to yourself. And we sat and watched that game, and it was bloody awful, I can tell you. But it was fantastic because they were just such good people. But it was very tough sitting there watching.
Now, Mal, talking about the club then and now, and looking at the difference. I mean, you went back to Perth, and then you came back under the marketing banner and looking after the club. What is your marketing background, by the way? Just what was that?
Well, marketing.
He's marketing himself since he was 21.
That's good on you.
Rough product.
I think, well, marketing's very easy. You've got a very easy product to sell in football, and you've seen now there's 25,000 Richmond people out there, and their membership was 7-8. So if you look at the facts, there's a very good market to get to, and Richmond have wonderful supporters. I mean, if you go to CUB, and you had your Pat Stones, and you've got your Greg Harrises there. You go to Sweps, you've got the Australian marketing manager. You go to all these different places, and
you've plugged them, but nicely. That's a beautiful.
And nobody had ever used them at Richmond. I mean, Coca-Cola were sponsors and paid very little money. I think Sweps pay 15 times the amount of sponsorship Coke did 5 years ago.
So you tipped the club on its head and basically got rid of Swabby and a few of the other guys and cleaned the joint out.
No, I didn't get rid of Swabby. Swabby resigned.
Seriously though, with Swabby, I mean, he had a big influence on Melbourne, I believe, with some of the kids in his recruiting. Then also, I believe, the fruits of his recruiting in regard to Richmond also have benefited now to a certain degree over the last few years, some of the kids he's got through. I mean, and Balme having had a bit to do in just recently with the Melbourne Footy Club, is that the sort of thing that Richmond need to look at doing now, or getting more kids, or just trying to get some stability in regard to some of the players they got there at the moment?
I think Richmond's biggest problem is that if they don't have a blue or sack someone every couple of years since about the 60s, they don't seem to perform. And you look, that's historical. If you look at, you know, there was always problems. And I think one of the big problems that I never thought about until the last 12 months is that the number of people that don't like Robert Walls only because of the fact he's come from Carlton. And everywhere you go at Sportsman's Night, they all bring that point up. Why would a Carlton bloke be coach of Richmond? And I think it's a different mentality issue, and I think Richmond people are so fanatical, and it'll be interesting to see if they don't win over the next 2 or 3 weeks, whether they end up with 25,000 members next year.
Well, it is. I mean, amazing. They've gone from 3,000 to 25,000 in a decade, and it's an amazing turnaround.
Now, Tommy's worded me up. The tan run. You boys were infamous for hiding in the... Was it the Shrine or the Botanic Gardens?
I don't think we're the ones to ask about it.
Well, did you actually ever complete the tan run?
Oh, no, we did a lot of time.
Around the Botanical Gardens, yes. It was a recognised time trial. And,
you did it really well, but what about these guys?
Not terribly flat.
He was an awful little man because, you know, one of those smarties that used to run from the front of the pack down to the back, and he'd come up to me and he used to say to Balme and I and Whale, you know, how can anybody run that slow? And we'd say, well, look, did we start with them? Yeah. Have we stopped? No. And we said, we're buggered if we know either. We can't work it out either.
It was tougher running at your pace than running at normal pace.
But I used to pop in the Shrine because it's the only place Tommy couldn't shout at you and pay your respects to the old diggers.
Balme, just looking at the setup and with Matthew Richardson, do you see... He's a crucial player to the side, obviously, as he was out, they lost a few of the games, but his style of play doesn't really lend itself to being a key forward. He's more of a half-forward flanker. Did you pick up on that as you were playing them a lot, being the Melbourne coach, ex-Melbourne coach?
Yeah, we haven't... he missed a few games when we played. He's a wonderful talent, and sometimes he is frustrating because you just can't read what he's going to do. And I reckon that's probably what Richmond needs to do, is have him in a position where he can just play his game, because he seems to be hard to control that way. And rather than, don't play him centre half forward, or don't play him full forward, but play him as a running forward maybe for a while. I think ultimately he should do what he's told, but I reckon right at the minute he's probably playing just as a flair player, and maybe that's what we've got to let him do.
Where do you see the team at the moment, Tommy, in regard to the position on the ladder? Are they indicative of where they should be?
I think they are, yes. The unfortunate part about it, what I can't fathom out, is they've had 5 wins, but they've beaten 4 of the top 6 teams. So they're capable of beating top teams, and yet, unfortunately, they haven't been able to string it all together. If I look at their weakness, it's got to be a lack of pace. We've got some kids who are terribly committed and big hearts. I never ever question that, but I just feel that we're just slow as treacle, and really we just can't get a long penetrating kick up the field because we're under a bit of pressure. That's the way I look at it. Yeah.
Now?
Well, I think Tom's right. Midfield, we seem to lack some pace, and we've had, you know, players like Charles have meant a lot last year, and he's been out, and of course you've had Knights out, but I think you can't keep using that as excuses to win one every 3 weeks. I mean, this week you're going to see 70,000 go to watch 13th play 15th. I mean, that's you're going to have a monstrous crowd because it's so important to both clubs.
It's very indicative of the whole competition really at the moment, isn't it? It's in a great spot. Guys, thanks for coming on. I know you've... Sorry?
Wait, sorry, before we send Tommy off, I just wanted to, I guess... No, I'm sorry. No, it's really serious because Tommy and his wife Maureen have a lot to do with charity work in the Variety Club, so I wanted to thank you for all your work, yourself and Maureen, with the charity, with the Variety Club,
yes,
the charity
work.
Well,
I am really quite proud of the fact that my wife is the secretary of the Variety Club, non-paid position. She's been there for about 7-8 years, and the work that the Variety do is absolutely sensational. Absolutely sensational. Nearly every dollar you give goes to the kids, and there's so many people out there, particularly from the entertainment area, the TV, absolutely staggering the work that they do. And as I say, I'm really, really proud of the fact that, well, she's doing plenty for probably people less fortunate than herself.
Well, I can say this, that Tommy and the 2 gentlemen beside him have certainly done a lot for the Richmond Footy Club over the years, and thanks for coming on. It's great to have everyone back, and again, good luck for the rest of the year for all of you.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, we'll be coming back in a minute. We've got 2 more superstars, ex-Richmond legends.
Saturday on Sports AFL. At 12, the Eagles invite Carlton to Subiaco for a Blue the West Coast way. At 2:15, join Ron for a replay of the fantastic 94 qualifying final between Geelong and Footscray. Then at 7:30, in another game you won't see anywhere but Sports AFL, Richmond play an embattled Essendon outfit. And at 9:45, Adelaide face their stiffest test yet when they meet Geelong at Cat Park. So much footy on Sports AFL. Saturday, live and exclusive to Sports Australia, continuing coverage of the Amy Cup.
He's only got one man to beat.
The running game at its best. Rugby Union presented by former Wallaby wizard Russell Fairfax. With their stars back, a rejuvenated East lineup take on competition surprise packet and original exponents of the running game, Sydney Uni.
Superstar!
The Amy Cup, Saturday, 3 p.m. live on Sports Australia.
Prime Minister John Howard. Right up in your face. When they kick and try to get a little space. See it all. Come alive. Make the traction right before your eyes. See it all. Only with your optus vision. See it all. Only with your optus vision.
Some sports inspire with their grace, precision. Others capture your emotions with their breathtaking beauty. Now for something a little different.
Something with more punch, more muscle, and a lot more fire!
Now that felt good. The ultimate sporting experience with action from Australia and around the world.
Sports Australia on ESPN. Your sport when you want to see it.
When the Tigers lined up for their first flag since '74, two warriors had stood the test of time. Kevin Bartlett, who'd won his first best and fairest in '67, and 33-year-old Francis Bourke.
Lee got a knockout, but not a good one. It's finally pushed out to Bartlett. This looks dangerous on the boundary line. A goal coming out. It's a goal.
The Tigers demolished Collingwood for a then record grand final margin of 81 points, and Bartlett blitzed them.
And Magro having a battle there, but it's Bartlett getting around Magro. Look at the little champ go. Coming around the boundary line, going for goal number 7. What's the result?
To the Richmond Town Hall. We're having a great night. We've had some absolute legends so far on the show. And Craig Kelly, can I say, I think I'm in love with Tommy Hafey.
Yeah, he's
a sweetheart.
He's a lovely man. Now look at that footage there. That was when Stan Magro got absolutely flogged by the Hungry. He absolutely kicked 7 goals. So I always remind him about that last year I was playing at Collingwood. I said, mate, never forget that you had 7 goals, wasn't it? 7 goals kicked on you in the grand final. Fantastic. 8 goals. 8, that's right, sorry.
Well, we're going to move on with the tradition. I'll try and get that out of the legends. We're now going to welcome, I'll try and spit this out. We're going to welcome Michael Roach and David Cloke. Welcome, guys.
Now, there's some older ladies out there, Roachy. You would have been the glamour boy of the days, wouldn't you? 80s?
No, that's not right, Ned. No, there was plenty of blokes. Jeff Raines was the glamour boy down at Richmond.
Yeah, I reckon you're right behind him waiting for the handballs. No doubt.
Oh, there's no doubt about that.
Hey, Clokey, tell me this. How did he get disco?
Disco, when he first came over, we had a bit of a night after one of the games, and Graham Richmond had a hotel down in St Kilda. So we had this night down there, and Mick, being a young bloke, he got in the Terps after the game, and probably had 1 or 20 too many. And the disco was going and there's no one up there, so Mick got up by himself and started dancing. And he was up there dancing for about 20 minutes by himself, and from then on, the boys nicknamed him Disco and it stuck.
Did he have good form?
No.
That's the main thing.
Form. Not that Clokey would have been able to see much, because by that time of night, Clokey was very well gone home. Gone home. Now, Clokey, you're down Collingwood. You're down back at Collingwood. I know. I mean, you played there when I was.
Yeah, back down at Collingwood.
What are you doing?
Just doing a bit of ruck work with Monkey down there.
He's doing a fantastic job. I mean, he's been dragged every week. It's been fantastic. It's great.
But he looking good while he's on, and he runs off. He runs off the ground very well too. So, I know. Look, plus we're working with a couple of younger blokes who are playing the seconds as well, so trying to get them up to a stage where hopefully maybe next year or the year after they may be able to take the step up.
Now, the difference in the ruck work from the 70s to now, the 90s?
Well, it's a different style of player. You got to have the more athletic type player, ones who can sort of contest it, but run around the ground and good at handballing.
And kick. I mean, you couldn't kick, could you, mate? I mean, you've got 3 little boys, and they're going to hopefully go in the AFL. Hopefully you haven't taught them how to kick.
No, I've had nothing to do with their kicking at all. But, look, it doesn't really... I don't think it really matters. You get the ball and, you know, seemed to always get down the other end when I wanted to, and got through the goals on a number of occasions, so... What's this? This will go straight. Good handball.
Good handball. You always handball, mate. I know. Even if I ran past you when you were playing at Collingwood, I'd get a handball. I used to love it. Now, your time at Collingwood, obviously, you enjoyed, but would you have preferred to spend and finish your career at Richmond?
Oh, look, I think any player would like to stay at the one club for the whole of their career. I think that's what they'd like to do, but circumstances come about where, you know, may not be able to stay that way. So, you know, you got to go on and play where you can at the time.
Now, you're big on the coaching. You were out up at Ainsley, sorry, down at Tassie. Is it Tassie? No, sorry, Canberra. Canberra.
Go the other way, yeah.
Other way, one way. You went down to Tassie for a while, though, didn't you?
No, I never went down to Tassie.
Wouldn't let him in.
No, they wouldn't let him in.
No, I didn't have the scar on the side of the neck to get into Tassie.
Oh, he's up. I've got to bring your friend Graham Wright. He'll kill you for
That's easy.
Now, you got sacked from there.
Oh, yes, after 2 years and winning 2 flags, and they said they wanted to change the direction, so I sort of come back.
Well, I just don't want to win more flags.
So I sort of come back to Melbourne, so, but, yeah, if anyone's spent any time in Canberra, 2 years is a bloody long time, I can tell you now, and not being a public servant and you know, not being involved in that environment, it is a long time.
I spent 8 there. That's even worse.
Well, that's probably why you're working with Ned now, you know. But those winters got very cold.
Now, Roachy, you're working with Holden, selling Holdens at the moment, out at, give it the plug.
Yeah, out at Ralph de Silva Holden out in High Street in Preston. So I'm one of the managers out there. We're going all right.
So go and buy your Holdens out there if anyone wants a Holden.
You need a Holden.
Roachy needs a quid. Now, mate, in regard to forward setups at the moment, I mean, we're talking to Tommy and those guys. Have you seen a remarkable change in regard to the structure of the way the ball's delivered to the forward line? Looking at some of the old footage, they were beautiful boots too.
They were the yellow boots with us?
They were the yellow boots.
Yeah. No, I think it has changed the way they bring the ball in, but you know, like they can go all over the place at the moment. I mean, you wouldn't say when my time I played a full forward and that's where I played. But now you can start off on the flank and move to full forward, move to centre half forward, so you're all over the place. So I suppose you really haven't got a permanent position in the forward line.
Now, Roachy, Tommy Hafey came down to Tassie to look you over when you were just a young kid. Were you disappointed that he then went on to Collingwood and you really didn't get a chance to be coached by the great man?
Well, I don't know. I did. I came over a year before and did a pre-season or one night under Tommy Hafey, and I'm glad he left because it was pretty tough. And but no, I was a bit disappointed because Tommy said come over and I'll coach you and all that sort of stuff. But unfortunately he left and went to Collingwood. But we had some good coaches and we ended up winning a premiership in 1980, which was terrific.
Now the State of Origin, obviously last weekend was a pretty impressive game. I mean, the Saturday night, anyone who saw that have to be impressed in regard to the number of, well, just the quality of the game, the skill level. You played for Victoria, what, 3 times, and certainly at that stage it was a very important part of the footballer's life. Do you still see it as a crucial part of our game at the moment, or where do you believe it should go?
Look, when I first started to play league footy, I was happy to get a game with Richmond. But once you've played with Richmond, if you're lucky enough to get selected for Victoria, that's what you aim for. And I was lucky enough to be selected, and it was just terrific. That's what I aim for. And as a young kid, that's what you strive for. Big Clokey played for Victoria, and I'm sure he was rapt to be picked for Victoria. Unfortunately, they changed the rules towards the end, and I had to go and play with Tassie, which I didn't really worry about. But it was State of Origin came into play, and I couldn't play any more for Victoria.
Should it stay though?
The Victorian...
The State of Origin, the whole concept?
Yes, I do. I think it should stay. I think it should stay, and I think it's something for a young fella to strive for.
What about Clokey with the Allies? I mean, it was pretty disappointing in Perth. I mean, some of the coaches, Malthouse, etc., have come out and really bagged the whole concept. And
well, look, I can understand from both sides. I think, look, the idea gives some higher for players to look at achieving to, but the thing is, we're playing basically state football, you know, every second week, or because you've got sides coming out of 2 coming out of Perth and 2 coming out of Adelaide, and you've got side out of Sydney and Brisbane. You're nearly playing state football, you know, on a weekly basis anyway. So, you know, and I can understand the coaches saying, because the thing is, you look at maybe with the West Coast this week, you know, they've got a couple of players who probably won't play because of getting injuries in that game. You know, you're not trying to say that poor Kelly just happened to have a crook shoulder leading into the game, sort of thing. You know, I'm just wondering if that was a home and away game last week. There's no way poor Kelly would have missed the game.
Yeah.
You know, so coaches, you know, really don't want it. Okay, the players and that, once they get picked and are there, like playing and representing their state, but I just wonder about the concept, especially during the season.
Now we're going to take a look at highlights from the 1980 Grand Final. How was the atmosphere going into this 80 Grand Final when there was such a strong era in the 60s and 70s? There obviously was a lot at stake for this 1980 Grand Final, as there always is in Grand Finals.
Yes, it was, and you you know, one of the things that was drummed into us was, especially playing Collingwood in the grand final, that and they hadn't won one for so long.
Was win at all costs.
Well, I'm actually glad you won because
they hadn't won a premiership for so long, sort of thing. And you know, really, why? Look at that. Jeez, I did get off the ground.
No, he just was...
Not really, just pushed the bag so far. But, Michael, did you handball him? That's unbelievable. I mean, that was the first time I've seen Michael handball.
Well, you never would have got one from him, would you, Rhett?
No, I never got one back. He owes me. He owes me heaps, actually.
And I love watching this, but I just love it. Like I said, Stan Magro, he tried to tell me how to play full back, and I just kept saying, mate, I've seen footage of you. You just get run around that easily. I mean, it was an amazing feat, wasn't it, a day by Hungary? It was fantastic.
It was a fantastic day for Richmond, Ned. I mean, I suppose we were probably the favourites going in, but because Collingwood had played so well going up to the grand final, but once we ran out in the ground, the first 2 or 3 minutes, I sort of had an inkling that we were going to win, and we just went on and played some terrific football.
Now, Tony Jewell, I mean, he was a... Talk about facial expressions. I mean, Balme, he has a few, or he had a few at the start of the year, but Jewell, he was special, wasn't he? Didn't he?
Yeah, he used to pull some faces, but I think that day he probably didn't have many bad faces to pull, but TJ used to get quite upset in the box, and I'm glad I was out in the ground. I mean,
you never said anything to you?
Oh, sure. He said a lot of things to me. So
pretty upset a number of times especially at half-time in the coaches' room, sort of thing, and some of the old clipboard used to be thrown around a bit, and so he used to be into that type of thing. But that grand final, I think Tony smiled for most of the day.
Now, the state of football, I guess, is changing, where we have trial by video and some dodgy umpire decisions sometimes. You were there for the Windy Hill Brawl. Tell us about that. We're going to have a look at it later in the show, but
yeah, it was interesting. I look at probably one of those games that I remember pretty well, but first half was a pretty physical sort of game, and then everyone saw what happened at half-time, and that was my 6th game of league football, and I'm thinking,
this is
what's going on here? And at half-time, we're in the rooms at Windy Hill, and the big whale had already been hit by a can on the nose and split his nose all open, and the rub-down tables probably weren't much bigger than this table there, and Whale's a pretty big boy, and his head's hanging over one end and feet are hanging out the other, arms that, and they got a full bag of ice on the beak, trying to stop it bleed. I'm sitting there thinking, what's going to happen in the second half? This is happening at half time. How going to be in the second half of this game? But the second half was probably the most tamest game of football I've played in. No one was scared to make body contact. I think it was going to break out again, but it was a very interesting day. Now,
Rachie, I asked the other guests in regard to where the club is at the moment. Have you got too many games, and where do you see them sitting, and where do they have to go from here?
Yeah, I get to most of the games except interstate. I go along with a couple of boys and watch the game. I've been a bit disappointed, I must admit. There was games where I thought the Tigers were terrific. The games against West Coast Eagles and Collingwood. Early on, I thought they struggled a little bit. But then they come out and played terrible against Melbourne, which is probably the worst game I've seen Richmond play for 5 or 6 years, I would think. And then the next week they play well against Melbourne. So they're just a bit up against Collingwood, I should say.
Well, they certainly fired up for that. That was fantastic.
They were terrific. But then you're just not sure from one week to the next whether they're going to perform. And I think that they need to get some consistency into their game. And look, they can beat most sides if they play well.
Well, guys, thanks for coming on. I think David's going to come back a little bit later and play our regular quiz. But
yeah, that'll be good. He's fantastic.
I've just heard about that one.
So
Thanks for that.
Please thank our guests. Have you ever been up close and personal with a real tiger? In a pursuit of learning more about their fluid movements and their graceful attacking skills, Wayne Campbell got very close and personal with a real-life tiger.
The zoo's been involved with a lot of things in Southeast Asia, opening up areas which are like enclosed national parks, if you will, where we can start looking at a release program. But until then, we're just going to keep breeding them up, make sure we've got a good genetic population and keep them going like that. And then as soon as we finally get the go-ahead, we'll start working towards releasing them.
Panthera tigers. You Wayne Campbell, aren't you?
Yeah, mate, that's right.
Wayne, are we a chance this year?
Mate, the Tigers are always a chance, so you stick with us, all right?
Okay. What does it take to be a real Tiger, Wayne?
Well, I've actually been trying to learn a little bit more about that myself. Adult tigers are solitary animals. They establish their territories in areas with enough prey to support them. Because tigers are solitary animals, they tend not to form social groups. They like to do it alone.
Every time Richmond look as though they need something as a lift up, it's Knights. Can he kick his fourth, third goal? He gets inside, well inside 50. This will bring the house down if you don't.
Tigers are ambush hunters.
Terrific sign when 2 or 3 players go into wire tackle.
And they grow big, real big. A tiger's lifespan in the wild is said to be around 10 years, but I've seen one much older than that.
Did Kevin Bartlett have...
And this old one was very, very hungry.
Going for goal number 7.
Do you know why tigers are so good at night? Because tigers can see 6 times better than humans in the dark.
Delivers beautifully to Richardson. It's our winning.
You know, I'm sure there was 2 tigers here before. There's only one now.
Sunday on Sports AFL. 11:30, it's the scrap between the hot and cold Tigers and Sheedy's very cold Bombers. 1:45 marks the return of David Neitz with live and exclusive coverage of the clash between Hawthorn and Melbourne. At 5:15, the Lions try to inflict Collingwood's 4th loss in a row in a game they must win. And at 7:30, it's a replay of last year's grand final when Sydney played host to a Kerry-led Norths outfit. All on Sports AFL.
Meet the Smiths, Mitchell, Dale, Renee, Diane and little Jade. Because we value the opinion of every single subscriber, we invited them to give us some feedback and ask any questions they wanted. It's all printed in Let's Talk, arriving soon with your Optus Vision magazine. Now we're asking you. So complete your Let's Talk form and you could win an Optus mobile phone package. Conditions apply, so check the brochure.
Now it's your chance.
Talk to Optus Vision. Look for your copy, arriving soon.
On July 1st, as Hong Kong returns to Chinese sovereignty, CNN will be there live, exploring the issues affecting the territory and its people. With anchors Bernard Shaw, Mei Lee, and James Lee, correspondents Mike Chinoy, Andrea Koppel, Tom Mintier, Song Jie, Richard Blystone, Ralph Begleiter, plus special editions of Q&A, Inside Asia and Asian Edition. Look for continuing coverage of the Hong Kong handover, all this week on CNN International.
In the world, there are a total of 17 different species of penguins. South Georgia Island is home to 3 of these species.
One colony alone boasts over 1 million birds.
Numbering in their millions, the macaroni, Gentoo, and king penguins have adapted to the freezing conditions, but they're far from being safe.
The seals plow through the field of penguins, leaving chaos in their wake.
Find out what makes these animals so unique on Odyssey's Wild Wednesday at 7:30.
They nearly accomplished
Greg Blewett has got one.
an impossible victory.
Surely that's out.
The 3rd test with our live and exclusive first session coverage could provide more magic moments.
It's gone in the air. Haley will get this. This will be 7.
From that man, McGrath.
Good shout. Yes, he's got him. He's got 8.
3rd test, Thursday night live at 7:50 with the full day's replay, along with highlights Friday from 1, only on Sports Australia 2.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time now for our quiz. Drop punts and drop kicks. Would you please make welcome on stage, Baby Larry Barber.
How you going, guys? Good, good. How are you? I'm Baby Larry Barber, and we're ready for drop punts and drop kicks. How are you, Ned?
Baby, how are you?
Thanks.
Good to have you back. You're looking good.
Good to be back. How you going, Nick?
I'm good, but Craig would look more intelligent if he had his hat on.
I haven't got a hat tonight.
We didn't have the hats tonight.
Oh.
I'm very upset.
We just want to show that new hairstyle. Guy down the back with a fair hairstyle too. How are you, mate? Good? That's good now. No yelling out in the quiz. Our contestants tonight, Mel Brown. Give him a big round of applause. Let's hear it from Mel. Russell Morris in the middle. Russell Morris, yeah. And David Cloak on the end. Yes, Nick?
Now, do we have to explain the rules to Mel? It has to be very orderly. No elbows, hands up when you...
No king hits, just hands straight up, okay? Now, you guys are playing for some audience contestants, and they are right down here. We've got Jules. Where's Jules? How you going, Jules? Give Jules a big round of applause. So Mel, you're playing for her. You happy with that?
Very happy.
Okay. Russell, you are playing for Morris.
Morris.
Are you happy, Russell?
And David, you are playing for Leanne. Okay. Now,
Scotch is happy.
Now, what you can win here, is an autograph jumper from all the legends that were here tonight. So the winner gets that. Okay.
It's a countdown jumper. Countdown jumper too for the AFL.
It's the countdown for the grand final.
Exactly. 93 days to go. That's all there is to the grand final. Good luck.
So there it is. It's got the sticker on it and the badge, and you can win that. Okay. We'll leave it. Mel, do you think you're going to win? You hold it. Okay. You hold it. Righto. First question now. It's hand up. These are the rules. Okay. Richmond's highest winning run was between 1925 and 1936 with a total of 25 matches. Against which club was it?
Audience can play.
The audience. Now, you're not allowed to yell out. We'll ask you if you stick your hand up.
Butch Gale at the back.
Russell?
Hawthorn.
Hawthorn, correct answer. Well done, Russell. He barracks for Richmond. Okay,
Russell.
Question number 2. Percy Bentley is 10th on Richmond's goal-kicking list with how many goals? Is it 296, 281 or 275?
Come on, Russell.
Russell?
275.
275, correct answer. Morris is happy over there. Morris is feeling good. Come on, Cloakey. Come on, Mel.
Come on, Cloakey.
You get some questions. Okay, in what year did Paul Sproul coach Richmond?
Gee.
Mel?
83.
83, wrong.
Oh, man, -1.
He loses a point.
-1?
Yeah, don't start complaining.
Cloakey?
85.
Correct answer. 85 is the correct answer. Well done. He's on the board. A score check there, Netta?
Well, Scotch or Cloakey is on 1, and Big Mal's -1, and we've got Russell on 2.
What did you say there, Mel?
He got the sack too.
He got the sack. In 1982, David Cloak was the captain of Richmond. Well done, David. There you go. Who won the club's best and fairest that year?
Right.
Yeah.
Morris Rioli.
Correct. And who won the club's goal kicking? No.
Oh, no.
Brian Taylor.
Oh, you don't count him. He went to Collingwood.
-2, man.
Okay, boys, a television theme. Name this television theme. Hand up.
Audience? Lost in
Space. Audience, you go to 1.
Actually, they're too old, these blokes. Audience
Russell
go to
Morris,
1.
you must remember that. Okay, audience go to 1. Name this song. Hang on. Whoop. Audience, now this guy right down the very back here. Yes, mate, yell it out. No, it's not. Mel? Lady down here, yeah? Foreigner? Feels like the first time. Correct answer. All right. Audience, well done.
You're good, you're all right. Well done, now. I'll give you 1.
Okay, what we're going to do now, we're going to go with the audience roar. Now, you contestants here, you have to do the audience, okay? What we need you to do is impersonate a tiger, your best tiger impersonation.
Come on, Jules.
Starting from Jules up that end. Jules, are you ready, Jules?
You got to do it, Jules.
Okay, Jules, let's hear your best. Quiet, please. Here we go. Tiger. All right. Morris. And on the end, Leanne. Okay.
Leanne's got to
Yes.
win it,
Leanne, what do you think, Leanne?
Leanne, who says Leanne? Yep. Okay, Leanne, who's playing for Leanne? You are? Okay, Clokey, you get one on there. Okay. Name the 3 highest all-time games record holders at Richmond. The top 3.
Name the whole 3?
Name the 3 highest all-time games record holders. Clokey?
Kevin Bartlett, Francis Bourke and Jack Dyer.
Well done. There he goes. Okay, what we're going to do now, we are going to guess this legend's weight. This guy's a legend. Would you please welcome, ladies and gentlemen, he's going to come on. We'll do the Tiger theme. Please welcome Michael Roach. He's going to come out here and we're going to weigh him. Okay, just stand over here. Okay.
Mel.
All right.
Mel.
Now what we're going to do, we're going to guess his weight. But first of all, we need you guys to guess it first. What do you think it is, Mel?
97. Is this anything close to your playing weight, Mick?
97 kilos. Russell?
15 stone.
15 stone. It's got stone. Yeah, we can work that out. That's good.
It's on there.
And Dave?
I'd say he's about 93.
93. So we've got 97, 15 stone, and 93. Closest wins. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, a drum roll for this. Here we go.
Hang on, do we let the audience?
Audience, what do you think? What? 105, 107. We've got 107 going once, 105 going twice. Okay, on you get there.
Mel.
104 kilos. Would you please thank Michael Roach? Thank you, Roach. There he goes again. Give a big round of applause for another legend. There he goes.
Okay.
Get him. Okay, Mel, you got that one. You happy with that? Okay. Now, what we're going to do here, we're just going to go to the very last one. Finish this lyric. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. Yes, Russell?
You make me happy when skies are grey.
When skies are grey. Very good. Now, the score check. He gets 1 for that.
Did you get 1 for that? Okay,
Yep.
he's on 3. 4 for Clokey, 3 for the audience.
Okay, now
minus
Russell,
1 for
Russell
Big
you
Mouth.
can win. You get 10 points if you sing that with
It's
the
not
band.
really a challenge.
It is a
That's
challenge.
a singer.
That is a challenge.
In tune.
Okay.
In tune.
We can't do it. I'll never win.
Ladies and gentlemen, to win drop punts and drop kicks for Morris in the middle, you need to sing this. You are my sunshine.
Okay, let's go.
You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. Make me happy when skies are grey.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner, Russell Morris. Give a round of And our winner over there, ladies and gentlemen, is Morris. Morris wins himself the jumper. Come and get the jumper. There you go, Morris.
All right, Morris.
He also gets the prize back. Thank you, Russell. Thank you, Mel Brown, and thanks, David Cloak. That was Drop Punts and Drop Kicks. I'm Baby Larry. I've taken my scales and I'm out of here.
Thanks,
guys.
baby. Thanks, mate. And we'll be back in a minute with all the latest updates of the Richmond and the Essendon teams.
Hi, I'm Bridget Duclos, this is Darren Casey, and of course you already know Ed and Derm.
And we are the Grill Team. You can hear us weekday afternoons in Melbourne on Triple M.
And now you can see Dermy on his own TV show on Sports AFL Channel 13.
What's that show called, Derm?
Oh, it's called Football Feedback and it's on live every Monday night.
And for a TV star, he's got a great face for radio and a great head for footy.
You mean he's got a head like a footy?
If only his mouth was laced up.
Football Feedback, 7:30 Monday night on Sports AFL. This weekend, live league action on Sports Australia.
Puts the foot down. Beautiful stuff in the final seconds.
Live Saturday from 3, the Crushers are determined to avenge their first-round disaster against the Knights. Then live Sunday at 1:30, it's the clash of the Titans between Norths and Manly. ARL live and the Optus Cup Saturday from 3, Sunday from 1:30 on Sports Australia.
$300
Australia, New Zealand, the Trans-Tasman encounter.
It's all going right for Australia.
The Socceroos fighting to qualify for the World Cup of Soccer in France '98 with Supercoach Terry Venables.
That will cause a lot of controversy.
Feel the passion of the world's most spectacular sport and a fiery World Cup qualifier between two of its fiercest rivals.
Great shot, what a goal!
Australia take on New Zealand, 8:30 Saturday night, replay 8 Monday morning on Sports Australia.
Ramps ready.
Rails.
Air command is up.
Bourke. Tower.
If it moves fast, defies gravity and involves radical moves, you'll find it in the X Games. 3:30 Sunday morning, continuing 9 Sunday night on ESPN.
The most shameful spectacle of the decade took place at Windy Hill on May 18, and the repercussions were still being felt in the courts months later. It was a brawl that left a sour taste in everyone's mouths. In a marathon sitting of the VFL tribunal, Mal Brown was suspended for 1 match for assault. Richmond Stephen Parsons was suspended for 4 matches. Ron Andrews received 6 matches. Essendon physical education instructor Jim Bradley got 6 matches. Essendon runner Laurie Ashley got 6 weeks. And Essendon rover John Casson got off on a striking charge. Such was the fury of the brawl that Richmond's huge ruckman Brian Roberts didn't even think he'd been punched. He thought he'd been kicked in the head by the trooper's horse.
Mal Brown holding his hands up to the crowd. If that's a gesture of victory, I don't know whether it's good or bad.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Welcome back. We're coming to you live from the Richmond Town Hall. This is the Richmond night with all the roaring Tiger fans. Thanks for coming along again, the loyal supporters of Optus Vision. Thanks for coming. And Neil Busy there. Neil Busy, who has suspended me for, I don't know how many weeks. He was in there having a blue. I'd love to...
Committee member at Richmond he was.
And he's in there.
And he was involved in that blue net, and you missed out. You could have had a go back at him.
That I would have liked that.
Look, you know, I only did what you showed me.
Thanks for... we've got the 3 gentlemen back on, because we're going to talk about the situation with this week's game between Essendon, which is, like Mal said earlier, it's going to be a cracker game, really, because it's crucial, isn't it, for both the sides.
Well, whoever loses basically is history, I reckon.
Well, yeah, it's going to be hard, isn't it? I mean, you look at Essendon and the injuries, and I'd really have to be tipping Richmond at the moment, but we'll have a look at the team in a second. But we've got some... I know I've changed my mind. We'll look at some training here. We've got some training here, so we'll have a look, see who the guys are on the track. And this is tonight, and ex-Collingwood player there, Powley. And this is Punt Road, really. It's come alive again, hasn't it, Mal? That was one of your really objectives, isn't it? To get the whole joint was turned upside down, but refitting the whole place, the new gym, and also the facilities are fantastic, and I often drive past and see the guys training there. And Justin Charles, I think, is out with an Achilles, a bit of Achilles problem. And have you heard much else about Justin Roche?
No, he's sort of he's struggled a bit this year. He's had a hamstring, and now he's hurt his Achilles. He really hasn't. I mean, he's a very important player for us, because he really is enthusiastic and gets the guys fired up a bit, but that's disappointing that he's out probably for a couple of weeks with Achilles. You've got to be careful with those.
And Mark Miranda there, who's playing in the seconds this week, and David Bourke. But Clokey, I mean, the setup is very important with Charles Benny Gale, and I know a lot of the Richmond supporters tend to be a little bit critical of Benny, but I think he's so important for the whole side structure in regard to not focusing on Matthew Richardson up as a key forward, but being able to give them some taller targets, which surprised me why Jareka isn't been playing a lot more football.
Yeah, probably in some way. Benny has done quite well when he's been on the ball, so, you know, I know when he played Collingwood a few weeks back, he was the difference in the last quarter when he came onto the ball. And Holland seems to have taken a little bit extra step for him, to give him an extra taller option up forward when Benny goes on the ball.
Well, certainly if he can get going like his brother has, this guy here, Nick Daffy, but he is a super player. And I really thought earlier in the year, Michael, the fact that perhaps fitness was a bit of a concern. And talking to Matthew Knights and also Wayne Campbell, there's been a lot of work over the previous months, the last few months, in getting their fitness back up to another level. Do you agree with that a little bit?
Right there, Ned. I watched, well, I've watched all the games. I think the first 3, the Tigers really struggled, especially in the last quarter. And, you know, they have worked hard. I've heard that they've been doing a lot of extra training, and few more sprints than they had been used to, and looks like their fitness is not too bad now.
When we take a look at the injuries, Justin Charles out for 2 to 3 weeks with the Achilles. Joel Bowden, collarbone 3 to 4 weeks.
And we've got the side coming up here now, which will be interesting to see. I mean, Matthew Knights, isn't it great he came back and played a bit of the game, half the game against Sydney, Mal, and it's good to see him back, and he's crucial to get the things going in the midfield.
Oh, there's no doubt. And I think a big loss too, Rogers coming back, Naish of course, and Bullis. Bullis was been a pretty handy player, but he just doesn't put them all together because he's injured. I think the real problem, blokes, like Tommy said, midfield, Daffy, and these guys just have to start getting the ball, because Daffy, hasn't had a very good year, and blokes like Kellaway are working hard, but I just think they've got to get that midfield run going.
And Turner at full back there, I mean, early on the year, he really didn't have any of pre-season because of his knee problems, and he was one of the full backs the year when you guys went right near the top in the finals there, and crucial to have him back. But Campbell, he's been terrific, hasn't he, midfielder? I mean, he gets a lot of kicks though in that half-back area, and I reckon that perhaps if he gets some more midfield, it might be a little bit more damaging.
He's been playing basically back. Against Collingwood he played, but I think they need his midfield run. If you have a look at that, see Knights on a half-back flank, well, he's a terrific player, but he does lack a yard, and I don't think that'll stay like that, really, because he could get exposed in his second game up.
And Mark Miranda there, obviously, being omitted, which is quite interesting. I mean, he hasn't been getting a lot of it, has he, Roachie?
He's been out injured a little bit, but he probably hasn't had as good a year as he had last year, and I think he's an important player to us, but it's disappointing that he's been omitted, and he'll bounce back, though, for sure.
Now, we got a little bit of an interview here with Matthew Knights at training tonight, so let's just have a look at what he had to say.
Yeah, well, I suppose that the main thing with this season, it's very even, but really you've got to, from our point of view, we've got to string 3 or 4 wins together. And if we do that, we're a real chance to make the 8. We're just looking to Essendon this weekend. But as I said, if we're going to be a force come finals time, we've got to string 3, 4 and 5 wins together. So we're hoping to start that run with Essendon on the weekend.
Wow. Have obviously got it in their mind that what they've got to do. They know this weekend's fairly crucial. They're thinking along the right lines.
Well, when you've seen that over the last probably 3 or 4 weeks, West Coast Eagles, Collingwood games, that when it's sort of been that crunch game for them, they've sort of come up. So, really they know that this week is their crunch game. So, maybe their up week this week, they might be on and see what happens from there.
It'll certainly be good, and saw that player there is crucial for the whole success of the second half of the year, but this player more so. I mean, he was the glamour boy, Roachie, unfortunately, and still is. I mean, not was, but is. And we've got a little interview here with Matthew Richardson.
Yeah, you look at the two sides where we'd sort of won 14th and 15th, as you said, so it's probably a big game. You wouldn't think that a game of the two sort of lowly sides would be a game of the day, but I suppose when you look at it, it's pretty important for both clubs, and it should be a great game.
And just even in some of that training footage, sometimes Matthew's concentration, I reckon, just perhaps wanes a little bit, and he just doesn't focus hard enough. I mean, he has some enormous opportunities. He certainly won the game off his own boot against Collingwood a few weeks ago, but sometimes, and that often happens as a kid. As you go older, you get a lot more experience.
Oh, look, Matthew Richardson's a genius. He is the best player you've ever seen, and he's the worst player you've ever seen when he kicks into the post from 6 feet out or drops a mark, but he's just a magnificent player. He's the most exciting player Richmond's had for 15 years, 20 years.
Well, now, Mal, we've got the Essendon team up here. Now, you had a visitor during the week. Some changes there. Hardwick, McCurry, Fletcher, Simons, Cockatoo, Collins and Barnard. Barnard coming back, which is interesting because he's had a bad foot problem, and Lloyd played sensationally in the State of Origin game, so he might be a bit sore after coming up for that, which was certainly a big game. And they're certainly starting to get... Look at the outs there. I mean, that's amazing. Alessio's out with a foot. Berbakoff, Harvey, Morgan, Ollerenshaw and Fraser omitted. But it's amazing the problems they've had. And you had the great man himself, Kevin Sheedy, around to your house. Is that right?
Well, he called in. He pushed in on Monday night,
just
actually. Walshy was there, and Francis, and he's very low. He's not real confident. And if you have a look at their side travelling over what the Dockers did to them, irrespective of how bad Richmond played, at least they've played some good games in between, like against Collingwood and against West Coast. But it's a long while since Essendon have put together. I think that Essendon are confidence at the lowest they've ever been, and I can't see them beating Richmond.
Well, guys, thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Thank the guests. Some footballers are very graceful on their feet, but as Francis Murphy found out, when it comes to dancing, the Richmond boys need a little bit more practice.
Turner! Oh, he kicked it anyway! He got his left foot to it and kicked a goal!
We've all seen what the Richmond boys can do on the field, but give them the weekend off and they reveal talent in other areas. Slipping into the shoes of a rock star was easy. That is, except for learning the words. Others made the most of their moment in the spotlight. Behind the scenes, the stars of the show prepared for the performance of the night. In a rare backstage interview, the Tiger version of the Village People revealed all.
Well, we had a lot of inspiration from bands like Bucks Fizz and Video Killed the Radio Star, a lot of the early 80s stuff, and I just think that we tried to take the best of all those bands and try and blend it into one big milkshake, and I think that's what we did tonight.
As with any star performers, their dancing technique was well rehearsed.
Look, it doesn't come overnight. The tunnel at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I think you need to be there at that time to make sure the dance steps are successful. One gig at a time. One gig at a time, John, you're right. We've got a lot of nights to go. I think we're in San Fran next week, and we'll take it from there.
The stars revealed they'd spent long hours preparing costumes for the right look.
The Dax, I went and skinned a dairy cow today, and got Mum to sew these up for me.
This is my uniform. I used to be a policeman with New South Wales until that whole Royal Commission thing, but we won't talk about that.
With the show over, the Village People were off, with some highly important duties to attend to.
Our adoring public awaits us, so I suppose it's out to sign a few hundred autographs and get our shirts ripped off and take home whoever's the best looking girl in the audience again.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I've seen it all. I mean, those guys, and I'm not a very good singer, but Nick Daffy and the boys with the Village People, you were kidding, aren't you?
Nathan was so into it.
He was, very much. Now, the tips, you're in all sorts. I will beat you by 10 points this year. At the end of the year, I'll be leading by 10 points, and I'll shave my head if
you're
I
not
don't.
leading by 10, you've got to shave
my head. So I've actually, I mean, we're both gone for Richmond because we're coming here tonight. We want to get out of the joint again. But it's going to be interesting, the Brisbane and also the Collingwood game.
And coming up on Sports AFL Super Sunday, Hawthorn versus Melbourne with Peter Donegan, Neil Barn, Craig Kelly and Mark Harvey, live and exclusive, Channel 13, Waverley Park 145.
And also footy feedback, we've got Tim Lane and Dermy's on that this Monday night, and Gary Lyon will be back soon, he's recovering in hospital. And club night, yes, July 10 at 8 o'clock will be coming from the Melbourne Football Club. Well, Nick, it's been a great night. We thank all the Richmond supporters for coming in. Put your hands together for all, for all of you coming. Now, to take us out tonight from the Richmond Town Hall is the Serons and Sweet, Sweet Love.
And Russell Morris.
And Russell Morris. Thank you.
Can't believe I'm really meeting a girl like you on such a day. Maybe I'm only dreaming. Mr. Sun, come back to stay. Yeah. No, I am today. To a girl like you, I don't know what to say. A guy like me becomes all tongue-tied. Hello, I love you doesn't seem so right with a girl
like you, it's love at first sight. Hello, I love you doesn't mean to say a guy like me becomes all tongue-tied. Sweet, sweet love, it will last, it will last. Na 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 na. Sweet, sweet love, it will last, it will last. Na 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 na. I'm a guy in love I've never met before, and a girl like you I'll never meet again. Do you want me half as much inside as I want you till the day I've died?
Crazy, couldn't sleep. But I was born that way, I suppose. In fact, we all were in Richmond, like you didn't go to Richmond, bleed with them, as they say. You weren't wanted at all down there.
This has been a Sports AFL production.